Your mother called up the circus and asked them to come get you?
No, it's not a circus, it's a carnival.
Or the carnival and asked them to come get you?
Well, yeah, they come pick you up. Mm-hmm.
How'd she know that?
There was a ad in the paper said wanted, drivers wanted.
She said, my son can do that.
Yeah.
And he'll be with other like-minded people that like to get drunk all the time.
Well, it was pretty serious. I mean, it was like going through the service. I mean, I learned the difference between right and wrong in there. There was no, and then everybody gets along. That there's, no matter who you are, either you're a nice person and an honest person, or you're not. It didn't matter. Anything else didn't matter.
How long did you do that?
3 years.
Why did you quit? Your liver wouldn't take it anymore?
No. It was hard work, and I just didn't have enough money to buy a ride. And
did you travel around?
Yeah, we traveled around the state of Minnesota and North
What's
Dakota.
the weirdest thing that ever happened to you?
You mean this week?
Every episode of your life, what's the weirdest thing that ever happened to you? Because I think there's several episodes. So this first episode, as a carny, what was the weirdest thing that probably ever happened?
Gee, I don't know. There's things that happened that I really can't tell you. That's weird. I mean, we went to. What comes to my mind is we used to go to we'd open up the carnival early at 10 o'clock in the morning, because the people at the state hospital would come out, and they'd have helmets on their heads and boxing gloves, and to protect themselves, and they want to ride the ride. So you'd have these 50-year-old men, 60-year-old men riding on little cars and motorcycles.
In helmets with boxing gloves.
Yeah, well, these guys would always be punching, so they'd punch the walls and stuff. And this guy got on the merry-go-round, on the Ferris wheel, and he got told to stay back, and he wouldn't stay back, and the Ferris wheel came around, hit him on the head, and knocked him down.
Ooh.
There's lots of stories like that. But that was in Cambridge, Minnesota.
What'd you learn not to do?
I learned that you need to show up for work on time and be responsible. And that's what I learned.
So a fire happened. You've found the niche. You've created a relationship with all the radio stations in town. You and Tom are doing commercials together. I'm not sure why Tom was doing commercials. Oh, you were doing them because you were going to scratch each other's back and you were giving him free radio space. And
trading.
All people at the radio station do different commercials for different clients.
And you have a birthday party and the donut shop next door catches fire.
In the strip mall at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And it did, and it was terrible. But it's a long time ago. I mean, it's either get busy living and rebuilding, or keep whining and complaining. So we just, I pulled my pants up, and my friends rallied around me, and they just wanted a captain of the ship. And I told them what I needed done. And Lynn Fitzgerald was building racks, and Hugh Harris was subcontracting the place out, and I had David Grace helping me, and all these people are still around helping today.
You moved it down the street for a couple of years.
From May, we opened 5 days later after the fire, May 19th, 1987. Sam Cross found me a new location while the building was still smoldering, and we opened it. We opened May 19th, and with 100 records, a telephone, and a little table for my daughter to sit on. And we were there till December 1st, 1988, when the shopping center reopened, and I rented the building. And we started building new racks down there. It took a while to build all the new racks.
It's unbelievable what it looks like inside. I went by today. I took pictures of it inside. It's the cleanest, most organized store I've ever been in. I thought I'm going to go in, and it's going to be this haphazard-looking, disheveled, memorabilia place. It's pristine. It's organized. It's labeled. I took pictures. I'll post them next week with your podcast to show people how nice it is.
Well, thank you. I really appreciated you coming by to see it today, because it meant a lot that you really would take that much interest in not just having us up here for the show, but that you'd actually see what the store looked like.
It's a great place.
Thank you.
Tom, do you remember where you were when you heard when you heard that his place had burned?
I was probably at the radio station because, of course, it happened in the daytime. It wasn't like an overnight fire. I think all of us immediately think that that's what happens when fires take place, is it happens in the middle of the night. I imagine we started getting phone calls right away and tried to figure out, how can we help? What can we do? And you just open the mics and start talking to the people. That's real local radio, to try to rally forces around some place that everybody loves.
I kind of miss those days, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
So many people today are recorded in California and, piped in to Arkansas. We don't get that local community today.
That was the best press I ever had. I got more coverage that day than I've ever.
The best, worst press I ever had.
What everybody, as soon as the phone got hooked back up, everybody's calling, how could they help? And they did. They surrounded, the records came in, and of course there was always the guy that would walk in, and we didn't have any racks. It just had like 200 records on the floor, and he'd go, "Is this all you got?" And I said, "I burned down a week ago." I mean, take a look at this stuff. You may see something you like in there.
So people probably listening don't realize before the digital world, what a radio station was like. Tom, what was a radio station like?
Well, you had all the music was on vinyl, and you would have little card catalogs that would divide the music into various categories, and the program director would say, okay, in the course of an hour, if we're a rock station, we're going to play 2 songs from the A category, 1 song from the B category, 2 songs from the C category, and we'd have taken all that music and separated it into categories based on the era it was from and whether it was fast or slow, and you want to balance out the hour. But it was up to the dependability of the guys on the air to follow that system, because it wasn't computerized. Literally, you had a shoebox with file cards and the name of the song and the name of the artist and how long the song was, and you're supposed to play the first one. You play it, you put it in the back, and that's how you would rotate all the music. And you would constantly have to refresh the collection of vinyl that you had, because when you cue up a song on a turntable, you're literally turning it backwards with the needle already on the groove, so that it's half a turn from the beginning of the song, so that I can say it's 65 degrees at Magic 105, here's Buffalo Springfield, and when I let go of the turntable, it starts running, and I know how long it's going to be before the song actually starts. Well, that first few seconds of the song, you've ground that stylus into the vinyl so many times that after a while, the beginning of every song is like that. Yeah. So you constantly have to refresh those pieces of vinyl, and Bill was a source for all of that stuff. And kind of in return, we'd give him his pick of what stuff we didn't need at the radio station.
Yeah, it worked out great, because they need stuff, and they get classic records that they're looking for. There wasn't any, you couldn't download at that time. You actually had to find the hard copy record to play. So I was viable there at that time.
Oh, you were more than viable. You were like essential. One of the things that you do when you go to appearances for a rock station is that you're always giving away music. You're trying to get people to come to Arkansas Flag and Banner because you're having a 4th of July sale, and you've hired a disc jockey to come out there and play music and be at the store. Well, when those people come, hopefully they're going to buy your product, but you also want to give them prizes for just showing up, radio station prizes. And they never want the new CD or the new album that you've got to give away. Yeah. They always want old classic stuff. And for the longest time, we didn't have any of that to give away, because the record companies won't give you library product. But we would go to Bill and we'd trade out advertising and come back to the radio station with 100 cool old albums. I'm talking about Blue Oyster Cult and Rolling Stones and Beatles albums. And when people would come to the events that we would do, like at Flag and Banner or a car dealer, they'd freak out. It would be like shopping for a cool old album, but it was free just because you came to our event. And we never could have done that without Bill.
Let's talk about the evolution of music. You started your record store when vinyl was popular. Then it went to CDs. Did you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out of business because everybody's downloading music?
No, they weren't downloading at the time, but what I was thinking is that I had these records for all these years, and there was never anything wrong with records. And so I just kept stockpiling them, and people were selling them like by the pickup loads, and I kept buying more and more records. And of course we were buying CDs too as well. But every store in town, we started carrying CDs. Circuit City and Best Buy and Target and all these other stores were carrying CDs, and so we didn't sell as many unless we had used ones, which was a novelty then. And there's only other record store that in town at the time was Been Around Records. He's been there longer than me. He's been there, like John Harris has been there 37 years.
Still
there, yeah.
So did you think, though, oh my goodness, the industry's changing so much, they're going to one day have everything on their iPod and no one's going to buy records again?
I still don't know what an iPod is. I just felt that there'd be enough people, enough older and people interested that would be interested in spinning records or cassettes or compact discs or reel-to-reels, or there'd be some medium that people would still want a hard copy of stuff. And fortunately, I've made it this far. And now now people are buying records. We encourage them to shop locally because they don't have to pay for their merchandise before they buy it at our store, like you do online. You got to buy it you have to pay up front, so you get to see what you're buying first, and you get to talk to me or Reed and get some input about music, or talk about concerts, or talk about what new releases are, and you get a lot more feedback and a lot more interaction.
You said it went from vinyl to CDs. No, from vinyl to 8-tracks.
No, it went from vinyl. You're right. It went from vinyl to CDs, and then it went to the computer, and then the CDs dropped off, and now it's back to records again.
Full circle, as Tom said at the break.
Yeah. And it's quite a ride. And so I've seen people that have said they haven't come in 20 years, and they said their dad used to bring them in. And I don't know if I'm going to get to the point my grandpa used to bring me in here.
You might. So when I took a picture of your place today, when I was down there, and I sent it to a bunch of people back at work, I went and got in the car, and after I'd driven off, I got all these texts from people saying, pick me up Carole King's Tapestry album while you're there. Do you have that?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Brand new copy, 180-gram reissue. I'm sure we do. Unless someone bought it between the time we saw you today and now. we carry like one copy of everything unless it's very popular. Then we carry multiple copies.
When other stores are not selling as much music, you're gearing up and selling more.
Yeah, we're trying to gear up to sell more, but the thing about people asking, records are really picked up now. Aren't you selling more records? I said, yes, we are, but now you got to realize that now Barnes & Noble and Books A Million and Target and Dillard's and all these others, everybody's Guitar Center, everybody's selling records now.
No.
Yeah.
I thought everybody had quit selling stuff
No, they all got them now. And see, they quit selling CDs, and so now people are coming in because people say, well, what's wrong with CDs? So we still carry a full line of CDs for those people that can't find them anywhere, because now all the other stores quit carrying those CDs, and now we're back into stock on those.
Having grown up with vinyl and knowing what Tom was talking about, when they get rutted out, I don't know what the word is, when you're
Q-burned.
Oh, there you go.
We got harmony.
Why do people want vinyl again?
They
wear out.
It's the sound.
Yeah, there's a warmth to it that you don't get on the digital recordings. There's a really great, I think it's a movie called The Rock with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. And the very beginning of the movie, he gets a delivery of a Beatles album on vinyl, and his wife can't understand why he's so excited about it. And he explains perfectly why the sound of a vinyl record is better than the sound of a CD.
It's not compressed. It has grooves in it, and the reproduction is better. And then you got to have a good stereo. I mean, that's the whole idea. You can't go out to Target and buy a $79 box that plays CDs, cassettes, and records, and then all of a sudden you're going to feel this. Oh, this is great. That thing is like to take to a picnic, so you can use it. But you got to have a good amplifier, speakers, and a turntable, and a good cartridge, and you'll hear a lot better sound. like Tom said, it's a warmer sound, it's a deeper sound, and it's not compressed.
Some people have kept all that equipment in good shape in their lives. You know, they invested years ago, decades ago, in good stereo components, and they've kept it up. But there's other people who are just now getting into the vinyl wave, and they're investing brand new in that kind of equipment. Just like these stores are starting to carry vinyl when they hadn't carried music in a long time. I would imagine there's some stores that are going to start carrying components.
Yeah, I think you're right. But there's so many components, and it's so confusing. I tell people, we tell them what we know, but we have to get online and get into a chat room and talk and see just what your budget is and what is the best value you can buy for your stereo. It's kind of like buying a car. Do you want to buy a Geo, a Honda, or a Lamborghini?
Lamborghini.
Well, you can spend $50,000 on a turntable.
Oh, wow.
Or else you can spend, $500 to $600 to get a really good one.
Well, it just turns. What's the big deal?
Well, it's the quality of it and the lack of rumble and just the precision of the instrument. It really is what it is.
Okay.
And I'm like you. I would never go out and spend $1,000 on a turntable. There's something out there that's perfectly suitable for me for a few $100s.
Tom, did you keep your records?
I didn't keep a lot of my records. I
don't have any records.
I have all my Beatles stuff just because I'm a fan, and I've got maybe a few select other things. But, at the peak when I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of personally owned records, I couldn't even tell you what I did with them.
I sold mine at a garage sale. They probably ended up at your shop, Bill.
Maybe either that or they ended up on eBay.
What's your favorite genre, or do you have one?
Oh, I think that my favorite type of music is Dion.
Warwick?
DiMucci.
Oh, who's that?
Dion and the Belmonts, yeah. Doo-wop.
The Wanderer,
50s.
Runaround Sue.
Oh.
Late 50s, early 60s. Stuff.
Muddy Waters, Frank Zappa. That kind of stuff.
When you own a record store, you have eclectic taste. Can I bring up something before you close out?
Mm-hmm.
I get to hear this show every single week because I edit the podcasts and I get to work with everybody at Flag and Banner. And one of the things that I hear you talk about in all these interviews, Kerry, and it's really true, is the self-starting mechanism that entrepreneurs have to have, and how I remember specifically recently you were talking to somebody who said, "Oh, I've been lucky," and you said, "No, you made your own luck. When those lucky things came along, if you were laying on your couch, you wouldn't have been able to take advantage of them." And I'd never, as long as I've known Bill, I'd never heard the story about working at the carnival. But the thing that I think is most interesting about that is how he said it's like the service. You learn to be immediately responsible for what it is you got to get done that day. You got to be there on time. You got to count on other people to do their job. That's the definition of being able to be a responsible, dream come true making person. He had a dream to have a record store. Without that background, never would have happened. I kept thinking that as he was telling that story.
Well said, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
You've been listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy. For links to resources you heard discussed on today's show, go to flagandbanner.com, select Radio Show, and choose today's guest. All interviews are recorded and posted the following week. Subscribe to podcasts wherever you like to listen. Kerry's goal is simple: to help you live the American dream.